Hey everybody, welcome back. What we are going to go over today is a bit on PubSub. Now, PubSub is one of these other commonly accepted communication standards that are out there. It is a little bit interesting to get into, interesting in quotes. If you have never worked with IoT before or any kind of messaging type service, PubSub might be new to you. Um, in which case, effectively, it is a publish subscribe type architecture. This is basically a design pattern that is available to use for various types of applications. And I'm kind of talking at a very broad level here. Basically, all we are doing is we are setting up a standard for how services and devices can interact with each other. Now, what you might be used to, if you're not coming from a PubSub background, is that you have, let's say we have two devices. These are my friends here, device A and device B. Okay. If I want information to come from device B to device A, I might say open up a socket and transmit the data, right? So I'm just gonna kind of send information over here. This is how you know I'm getting loopy for the day, by the way. Um, but that is a very synchronous activity. We have to establish a connection and then send that data, right? We have to be able to immediately parse it out. What PubSub gets us is the ability to really asynchronously send information. And what would happen in this case is that device A would subscribe to a particular topic, is what we'll call it. And if we're sending, say, sensor data, maybe that is the topic name. I want everything related to sensor data on this particular network. I, device B, would publish data. So if this device has a temperature sensor on it, so Kirby, you get a temperature sensor, anytime I take a reading, maybe every minute, every 10 minutes, just kind of depends on our use case, I'm going to send that to a particular topic. I'm going to publish information. And then I could have any number of things subscribe to that temperature reading topic. So let's say I don't just have link here and I'm just grabbing random stuff off my desk. I've got three separate sensors here. I've got my nice little Wolverine claw going on. I've got link, device A. They can all subscribe to this topic and get notified at the same time, or as they come online and they read the topic that is available to them. So, basics of PubSub. I've got some figures here in a Google-ified slide to check out. But basically, it is kind of a nice type of communication standard for distributed devices and or distributed services. And again, what we're kind of looking for here is the ability to do things asynchronously, meaning we don't all need to be ready at the same time to get this data. There is a lot more on PubSub. We could go into brokers, we could go into a lot more detail, but that's mainly if you're getting into managing it yourself. Obviously, being in cloud applications here, we're looking to have a cloud provider manage that for us. In this case, obviously, we're using Google Cloud for that. But we are effectively going to be transferring what is known as telemetry, which is just information from a device and or a service, and use this particular setup for doing that. Now, I've got this kind of a sales pitchy slide for you to read through and peruse. Basically, we're just taking out the middle layer of PubSub in this protocol, and we're letting Google manage that for us, okay? So what we have going on here, let's say that we have a human resources system. Okay, so this is not a device-based ecosystem. This could be a set of microservices. It could be services, compute engine instances, app engine, whatever we're using here. We have things that need this data. Okay, so in this particular example, we're going to hire a new employee. And this is kind of a nice example if you're working on, say, an ERP type of system where simply hiring a person kicks off a million things that have to happen, right? You need to provision them a badge. They need an employee ID. They need their salary filled out. They need payroll to be created. They need an address object to be created. Maybe we're going to broadcast a company-wide email. Hey, welcome, link to our fantasy company. Um, Basically, a lot of things start moving at the same time when you hire a person. Or if we have our device ecosystem, I detect that an earthquake is starting because I've got a distributed bunch of sensors outside and they start to feel the ground shake. Well, immediately we start blasting out alerts, right? We could use something similar for that. Again, we are just sending data to be processed somewhere. So in this case, let's say that we hire somebody, and step one is that we have an HR system that triggers a hire person function. Okay, in the PubSub world, we're going to transmit a message to the HR topic. Now, topics are something that you would define, and subscribers or entities that are looking to get that data would subscribe to a topic. Anytime data is sent to that topic, it can be distributed to anybody subscribed to it. And depending on how you configure things, it can be a push type of relationship where anytime data goes out, it immediately gets blasted to everybody. It can be a pull type of relationship where I would query a topic to see if anything has changed and then pull that down as needed. Kind of depends on your needs. I think I have a slide on that here momentarily. But the point is that we can configure PubSub to our needs and desires. You can also set like quality of service levels, make sure that everybody gets a copy of the message or, blast it out and hope everybody gets it. It depends on your use case. But what we're seeing here is this topic, and then we see, okay, employee directory service, badge activation, email account provisioning, that's another good one. Facilities, maybe they need to like badge swipe to get into various rooms. These are all separate systems, right? And if you wanted to go through and manually do this, it'd be a major pain in the butt. But if we have a pub subtopic, we can immediately kick off whatever scripts we need to run to make stuff happen. One thing to note here, the green section is the Google managed aspect here. So PubSub in this simplified example is taking care of the topic, probably managing subscriptions, push-pull relationships, things like that. But these systems can all be external. They don't have to be inside Google. As long as we know how to talk to this particular service, we should be golden. Now, the PubSub pattern, and this is, again, it's a software design pattern. It's well-known, well-understood type of thing. You basically are going to have a publisher and a subscriber. Those are the two ends. That's why we call it PubSub. Okay, you might have a broker again in between to add a layer of complexity for you, but basically managing like the topics, managing the subscriptions, things like that. That's effectively what Google's doing here. Publisher sends a message to a topic. The topic will store a list of messages. The subscription aspect would send that message to who has subscribed to that topic. You can have 0 topics, you could have 500 topics. Basically, these are just unique things that you push and pull data from. Okay, if you need another example, think of it like a mailing list, that thing from a bygone era where people would publish messages to a particular mailing list. Do you want messages from this mailing list or not? Do you want them in digest form, meaning you just get it all at once? Do you want to get constant updates from the mailing list? Kind of a similar notion, honestly. But that's the basic pattern. Now, I did mention we have push and pull type of subscriptions, and this is where, if you watch the RESTful API video before this can be helpful. We're doing something very similar here, so this is based on RESTful types of calls. With a push subscription, basically we're going to be sending a post request and an HTTP response. This is going to be pushed down automatically to your subscribers. The pull request, on the other hand, the pull subscription, means that we are making a request, and in this case we could be using a GET, like a RESTful GET call. Request goes to the PubSub manager. PubSub manager sends the message back as a response, and then you go ahead and acknowledge that, and you acknowledge the in the push as well. This gives you a nice quality of service here, and it gives you options for how to receive your data. This type of stuff is what you typically manage when you set up a PubSub environment. You can do this in Python, you can do it in Java all by yourself. There's some wonderful libraries for running PubSub. But again, we're taking that management aspect out of it and letting a cloud provider handle it. Now here's a little bit more of a complicated example, and we'll end with this slide because we'll get into a demo as usual in Google Cloud with this. But what you see here, we see multiple publishers, multiple messages, multiple topics, multiple subscriptions, and multiple subscribers. Okay, subscriber X only cares about topics A and B. Subscriber Y only cares about C. Subscriber Z also only cares about C. These subscribers don't get anything published to A and B. This subscriber doesn't get anything published to C. Again, kind of a nice way of transmitting data around on what could be a very complicated environment. And again, this doesn't have to be services. It could be just devices saying in Python, hey, I need data, talk to the cloud service and get something that has happened. Right? Maybe we uploaded something to cloud storage, now go through and notify everybody that this file now exists. And maybe you trigger a cloud function that triggers an email or triggers a log call or something like that. Basically, we are offloading all of the heavy lifting into Google, and then all the telemetry will be sent to and from that. Now, we will end with this here because this video is getting a little bit long, but very, very helpful pattern to use if you need to, say, sling data along a network of some kind. Anyway, hope this was helpful. I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.